Hi, I'm Robert Johnson, and I'm the location pastor at the Leeward location of Church of the Resurrection, and I'm with you today to introduce a new podcast called Resurrection Stories, through which we hope to expose our congregation and the greater Kansas City area to some of the amazing people here at Resurrection. We hope that as we expose them to you, that you will hear their stories of hope and transformation and purpose and service and be inspired. Be inspired to deepen your own relationship with Jesus Christ, and be inspired to come and visit Resurrection and experience what God is doing here yourself. So welcome to this first podcast. We want you to share the news about this podcast, so you can go to core.org/podcast and find the link and share that link on your social media outlets, share it in your email, text messages, and invite other people to come and experience this podcast. So I want to now welcome our first guest. His name is Darryl Burton, and Darryl is an associate pastor here at Resurrection, serves with our connection and care team, but he has an amazing story, and I can't wait for you to hear it today. So Darryl, welcome to our podcast. It's so good to have you here today.
Oh, thank you, Pastor Robin. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely.
It's truly a joy.
So Darryl, let's start here. Tell us exactly what you do at Resurrection, how long you've been at Resurrection, what exactly do you do? And then at the end, we'll come back and ask this again. What's, in your opinion, what's the best thing about Resurrection?
Well, let me answer the last question first. So for me, the best thing about Resurrection is the outreach that they do in the community. Resurrection, has this, this mentality, this concept from the top down, from Senior Pastor Adam Hamilton to everybody in the, as part of the congregation in the church, is to go out and reach those who are what we call, and Adam like to call it from the book of Gospel of Luke, the nobodies. So that means that the poor, the people like in Africa, those who are struggling and suffering in the community, those in prison, those who have challenges in life. And this is what this church, is really focused on, and it's a mega church, it's a big church, but the heart of the church, and you have both, people from both sides of the political spectrum, and they work together, in a spirit of love to help those who have needs, the most needs, and that's, as Jesus described them, the least of these in the community. That's the best part of the church that I like about the church. And then I've been here for 10 years. I came in what we call 10 years resurrection years, because Pastor Adam also said, it's like Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you just can't never leave. So. We are here, and when we come to Resurrection, but I mean, the people and the love is here. You want to stay. You want to be a part, of this experiment and of this experience, as the purpose of the church is to build a Christian community where non-religious people become deeply committed Christians. So that's people who really struggle with faith or didn't believe, and that was me, so they built this church, I think, with somebody like me in mind.
Wow.
And so those are two questions. I think you had a third question.
Yeah. So, tell folks exactly what you do at Resurrection.
And what I do at Resurrection, primarily as a congregation pastor, we do weddings, funerals. We offer, pastoral care to those in hospitals, those who are struggling with depression and mental health illness. We, as pastors, we just, we pretty much an extension of Adam, because of when you got a church this size, he can't be everywhere, and offer the kind of care and support to all the people who may need it. In fact, I just did a hospital visit. A woman, she fell and broke her back, but her husband just passed away 2 days ago. So she's struggling with, some really, some devastating issues right now in her life and in her journey. And so that's what we do. We just go out and try to just offer support and help. Then we, of course, we invite people in to come, and listen to, some of the sermons and the messages that are shared, and to become a part of this fellowship and this congregation, and just, offer people hope, and help in any kind of way that we can. We have, different programs as it relates to recovery community. If it's, we have, depression. We have, programs for hope and forgiveness. We got a lot of different programs that are offered to the community. Kids, of course, is a big kids program here at this church. So it's a lot, that we do. We have congregational care ministers who are also an extension of us to help, in the community. So this church, it does a lot, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. I said this to, to Adam and the leadership. Even if I wasn't a Christian or a believer, I would be a part of this church and this community because of the outreach and what they do. They the real deal.
The real deal.
Yeah.
And thank you for kind of spelling it out, because it is amazing. The recovery groups, but then basic small groups for discipleship, grief groups. But so much, I was sharing with my team this morning that if you made a list as a human being or as a believer, if you made a list of all the things in the world, the problems in the world that you think need to be solved, if you make a list of that, resurrection is touching on almost everything in some kind of way. Now, there will always be critics who think, who can say they should be doing more. But most churches aren't doing anything, but resurrection is touching on all the major issues. People in recovery. We're caring for people on a daily basis, delicate, diligent care for people, foster care, ministering to the homeless, to formerly incarcerated people, and then going really to the ends of the earth serving people. So that's what an accurate description. That's part of what we're doing with this podcast, is helping to tell the story of resurrection so people can know that. Because I agree, I think a lot of people would agree with you that even if they weren't Christians, if they knew all the great stuff the resurrection was doing, they want to be a part of this community.
Absolutely. I mean, it's because causes, and I was big on causes. Before I was even a believer or a Christian, I didn't believe in God, but I believe in causes. I came from a community where, the social justice in our community, it was needed. We needed all the, what you call the wraparound services and care support that a lot of folks get in my community. We lack that. I mean, whether, because you touched on the homelessness, alcoholism, drug addiction, I mean, I grew up in a violent community. And so we need that kind of support base. And this church, it extends its hand to those kinds of communities to, provide the kind of support that people need. I mean, we have partnered with schools in the urban core, in the inner city, where the people of color are, and not afraid to go. I mean, people who, who didn't grow up, maybe poor or disenfranchised, or maybe they had some resources. They go down into those communities, man, and try to help. And not only that, they just, provide, the kind of, care and love for people who otherwise it don't seem like, people who come from wealth, would be, even connecting with people who are poor. But this church and people here, they do that, and that's important, and as you also talk about, the mental health and substance abuse, and all these other, small group, in places in this church where we try to provide, at least a place for people to come, if they're grieving a loss, whatever the case may be. That's what we're about. That's why I'm a part of Resurrection, because of the causes, and then not only that, it's God focused too. It's Jesus, because that's what Jesus, this is exactly what he would be doing.
Jesus, I totally
God
believe
focused.
that. Absolutely. And being so inclusive of people who are marginalized, people who are untouchables, people who most church faith communities have excluded, the LGBTQ community, people who are formerly incarcerated, just lots of people that other churches just kind of shy away from. Welcome to your resurrection is one of the great things. And we do that, by the way, folks. We do that without being political. Since I've been on staff, it's very interesting. I haven't had a single political conversation since I've been on staff here at Resurrection. And so all of this work happens without getting into the nastiness of politics. We're not doing it because we're political. We do it because, as you said, we believe this is what Jesus calls us to do. Pastor Adam is very clear about that. There's some other work you do here through an organization called Miracle of Innocence that I believe, and you can correct me when we get to that part, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Resurrection played a part in helping to found that organization, helping to get that organization started when you came on staff here. We'll come back to that in a minute, because in order to understand what Miracle of Innocence is, folks got to know your story. So, but before we get to your story, I want to have a little fun with you. Tell us what. So, I want folks to kind of see. We've gotten deep into ministry and passions. Our passion about Jesus and Resurrection's passion for all people. But let's pause for a moment. Tell us, so folks can get to know you, what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Yes. This probably going to shock you. And there's a couple of favorites. But my favorite movie of all time is Forrest Gump. That's going to probably shock, probably make you laugh, probably make a lot of people laugh. Forrest Gump. And you probably say, Forrest Gump, And And some people may think Shawshank Redemption, others, but no, Forrest Gump is my favorite movie, even Green Mile and some others. But and here's the reason why, because, man, I love that character that he played. He was just a simple person who he didn't see the world of, like I say, politics, black and white, or this my side, that's my side. He just saw people, man, and then, and he had what we would call special needs. But man, his caring, and his compassion and his love just for people, even during wartime, And then I have a niece who has special needs, and she's similar to that.
Yeah.
She don't see differences, in nobody. She don't see distinctions, or there's a distinction without a difference, And that's, that movie chokes me up just talking about it, because I love how, and it reminds me of Christ, of Jesus. He just embraced everybody. Like as he said, life is like a box of chocolate. But that's my favorite movie, man, of all time.
I love asking people that question, because oftentimes that answer, as much as it is a reflection of the movie, it's also a reflection of their hearts, because the way you describe Forrest Gump is how I think most of us around here would describe you, that Darryl doesn't see color, doesn't see political affiliation, that you just care about people.
Right.
And so, great answer. I got a good friend of mine who says, thinking back on what I just said about how your pick of favorite movies can reflect who you are, I got a good friend of mine who says his favorite movie is The Godfather. But that's another conversation for another day.
I wrote about them in my book, but that's a whole different conversation.
Well, very good. So, Darryl, let's get to the crux of this conversation. I can't wait for people to hear this, those that haven't heard it before. Tell us how you became a disciple of Jesus Christ, and including your story, what was the turning point? So part of it is just telling your story, but wrap it around your faith story, your journey, how, as you became a follower of Jesus, and what was the turning point for you?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking this. That is, I think, a rather deep and profound question, because I was someone who struggled with faith for many years. I grew up in the Baptist faith tradition, so I knew about God. In my grandmother's house, you went to church. That was the rule, from a little boy, from a little guy, all the way up. And so, but they went to church a lot, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There was a lot of church going, man. I'm like, Grandmama, how much Jesus do we need? It was, so, it's Sunday, man, kids out playing football. I want to be out there with the kids, but up until 12, I think 12 or 13, you had to go to church. And when you got to a point of age where you could decide not to go, I was out. I'm out, Grandma. But I remember, this is part of my faith story, my journey, is that I remember two older men said years ago, and I'm just going to make this short and get to the point, is that two different occasions, that boy going to be a preacher. One old man said, and another old man, they didn't know each other. Man, I cursed them guys up one side, down the other. I went bliss, because I didn't want to be no preacher, because I'm like, them preachers keep you in church a whole lot. I'm really know that ain't going to be my vocation. Preaching? No, man, you got me missing. You missed the mark. However, and just a part of my journey, my story, I ended up going to prison wrongfully for the crime of capital murder, faced the death penalty. And they waived it, and I ended up was sentenced to life without parole for 50 years, plus 25 years consecutive. I'm 22 years old, so 75 years and 22. Basically, I'm supposed to die in prison. Not believing in God. I was, not so much I blame God, I just didn't believe in God, like my grandmother, my mother and family did. But in that prison, they said there are no atheists in foxholes, and they got that point right, because at some point in that journey, I had tried everything that I could think of. I wrote letters, I filed motions, pleadings with courts, asked for an appeal, asked for a new trial. Everything got denied. So I wrote about 700 letters from the United States to Canada to Europe, presidents, governors, senators, representatives, Republicans, Democrats, independents, Oprah Winfrey, sports figures. I wrote everybody, and even wrote to church. And the church wouldn't help me. I said, see, that's why I don't believe in the church. They talk the talk. They don't walk the walk. They said I'm a sinner, right? I'm in the sinners club, and they're not helping me. So I was just really dismissed. I just dismissed God and faith altogether. That wasn't for me. I had nothing against it. I just didn't believe in it, because I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. I need to see evidence of God.
Yeah.
And then at one point in 1998, I believe it was, had been in prison since 80s to 80s. And some Christian brothers had been, kind of challenging me. Darryl, you try everything else. Why don't you try God? Why don't you read the Bible? And I was just saying things like, oh, that's for weak people. That's not for me. long story short, just bring this here to my faith journey. As in 1998, I literally wrote a letter to Jesus Christ in these words, pen and paper, and said, "Dear Jesus Christ, if you're real and you know all things, you and I know I'm innocent. If you help me get out of this place, not only would I serve you, but I tell the world about you. Sincerely yours, Darryl Burton." That was a pen and paper, true story. I didn't believe in God. I was challenging him, basically put up or shut up. And also when the Christian brothers come and talk to me about Jesus and try God, I'm like, look, man, I've written him a letter. He's not answering my mail. So you can go on down the block with that Christian stuff. We got to deal with human beings. Human beings is what we got to deal with in this earth. God ain't got nothing to do with our human affairs. That was my attitude.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and all the things that I couldn't do in 20 years, 2 years later, an organization took my case called Centurion Ministries. They got the name from the Bible. When Jesus was crucified as an innocent man, I didn't know his story. He was innocent. A centurion said, surely this man was innocent. That was one sign. The second sign, the man who founded the organization, his name is James, one of Jesus' apostles, and one of his brothers' name is James. The third sign, and the kicker for me, the lead attorney who helped me get out of prison, there's a law firm not far from here. Her name is Cheryl Pilate, as in Pontius Pilate. You know, Ray Charles could see somebody was trying to get in touch with me.
So this was after you had written the letter?
This was after I written the letter, you know. Yeah, all these different signs. There's 3 signs, you know. Yeah, this was exactly. So then somebody said, get a Bible with red letters. If you get a red letter Bible, quotes out of Jesus' mouth, read that. And so I'm angry, I'm bitter, I'm filled with hate. And so I began to read these red letters and Jesus and how he said, love your enemy. And I hate a lot of people. And pray for them. And forgive them. You know, in the gospel, and Luke's and Matthew's gospel. I'm like, man, what kind of religion is this? This guy here, Jesus, is just totally different from anything that I had ever faced as it relates to religion. I never experienced that. At least I wasn't open to it. One verse in the Bible, this is my faith story, this is my journey. One verse in the Bible began to transform my heart. Luke 23:34, when Jesus was being crucified as an innocent man after they beat him, you know, spit on him, crown of thorns, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I said, man, that's not human. That's divine. How could this guy do that? And they killing him and he's innocent. And that was the one that began to transform my heart. And I began to pray for those people. Through clenched teeth, I'm going to pray for them, Jesus. But you know what they did to me. Make them turn around. They let them. I was so angry. And I just said, I can't forgive. God, it's too hard. It was like something whispered in my spirit and said, no, Darryl, you can't forgive them. But I can forgive them through you if only you would let me. And that's where it started from there. And I look back at that verse and I saw Jesus couldn't forgive him either in his humanness. That's why he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I said, man, what do I have to lose? You know, I'm going to follow this guy. And then how he was helping the poor. He was helping the homeless, the immigrants, you know, the feeding, giving water to those who are thirsty. I said, man, this guy here, he's doing all the things that my community need. I missed him. I said, man, I just missed him totally. You know, and it woke me up, man. And that's what brought me back to faith. And I said, "This is Grandmama had it right, boy. She was right. So you're gonna need Jesus one of these days."
It's an amazing story. Yeah. It's amazing. When I've heard you tell that story, before, I love the part where you talk about that you noticed that Jesus was was an innocent man on death row, and you said he's just like me. But so Darryl, I ran out of time, but I want to ask you one other question. So tell us about Miracle of Innocence real quick. Mm-hmm. So you come out, right. You're exonerated. Mm-hmm. You come out, you could connect with Pastor Adam.
Right.
And then how does tell us what Miracle of Innocence is and how it gets started.
Yeah, okay. Well, just quickly, I came home looking for some help and some support. And went to a lot of these reentry programs for offenders who help people when they get out of prison after they serve their time. Well, I went to them and they said, we can't help you. We only help guilty people. We don't help innocent people. I said, man, but I did almost 25 years. They said, yeah, we're sorry, but you were innocent. And we'll lose our funding if we help you. And so that was kind of the inspiration to get Miracle of Innocence started. And because I said, man, when other innocent people come home, in fact, they had said that you guys need to start something for innocent people. And so when I come home, me and then Lamont McIntyre came home, said, man, let's start an innocence organization. You know, I'm out here at the Church of Resurrection. And in fact, I didn't know that they said there's in the Book of Discipline, there's, one of the paragraphs that talk about extension ministries. Because I didn't think I could do it. But then one of the pastors, my supervisor, Steve Langhoff, and somebody, they showed me, said, Darryl, you can start, an organization to help innocent people through extension ministry. You can do both, work at the church and do that as well. And so that's how it started, Miracle of Innocence, to help innocent people get out of prison and then help them once they come home. And the church has been a big supporter of the organization. Every time we've had a gala in the last 6-7 years, we've had it right here, Church of Resurrection in the Foundry, at no cost, except to pay for, some, minor things like some tech support or something like that. But have been very helpful, and a lot of the congregation have also donated and been funders of Miracle of Innocence.
And people can find out more information about Miracle of Innocence if they go to the website.
Right, miracleofinnocence.org,
okay.
Miracleofinnocence.org, or you can go to darrylburton.org, or you can go to core.org. In some kind of way, you'll get connected to Miracle of Innocence.
You can also find your story written out on the website.
Yes, you can find my story written out on the website, and I got a book that's coming out, Innocent: A Second Look. So it's about to, also be published.
And that book will be out when?
That book's going to be out before Thanksgiving. That's our hope.
Yeah,
that's our hope.
Yeah. So what my final question was going to be: what gift do you hope to leave to the world? If you leave this book behind with your testimony and this organization, long after you're gone, that book will be with us. Would be with the world, and that book would be Miracle of Innocence would be still active and helping wrongly incarcerated people get exonerated. So that is your contribution. Are there any final words you'd like to share with our listeners today, just about who you are and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, I just, want to also say Valerie, who's my wife, we had 4 kids together, 9 grandkids. It's a blended marriage, but she was also instrumental to help me and Lamont get Miracle of Innocence started. And, Miracle of Innocence, as you say, that would be something that we would leave behind once, life, is with me, has come to my, as we say, my sunset. What I like to say also, for anybody who's listening, Church of Resurrection, and any church like this here that's doing this kind of outreach, it's a home for you. It's a place for you. It's a place for to do the work. If you about causes, then that's what we're about. And I think about 25 years I lost, and I thought about that. What am I going to be able to contribute to society or leave behind? What what I do here at the church and what we do with Miracle of Innocence, that's it. No more, no less. I didn't come out with the ambition, to leave a book, write a book, start an organization, or to get wealthy. I just come out to want to help people. And that's what and to tell the world about Jesus. And my message for real, for any and everybody, is about hope and forgiveness. That's my message. I'm a one-trick pony with one message. Hope and forgiveness.
And it is a great message and a great story, our first resurrection story. Darryl, thank you so much for being on our first episode. Thank you so much for helping me introduce this, and we're delight praying for you. So Resurrection and Greater KC area, thank you for listening in today. Again, if you want to share this podcast, you can go to core.org/podcast and find the link, and then you can share that on your social media outlets and other ways that you share important links of things that you're excited about. We also want to invite you to come and worship with Resurrection. Come visit us and some of the activities that are going on. You can also find those activities, find out about our worship service and activities at core.org. And want to remind you that Resurrection is a Christian community where nominally religious and non-religious people can become deeply committed Christians, and we hope that you will consider deepening your relationship with Jesus Christ and maybe coming and checking out what's happening at Resurrection. Thank you for listening in. Goodbye.